I'm Chiadika Obinwa, 18, majoring in electrical engineering and Plan 2.
What ethnicity you most identify with?
Most identify with Igbo, which is an ethnicity from southeastern Nigeria.
Where did your parents grow up and why did they decide to move to America?
Okay, so I guess I'll start off with my mom. My mom grew up in a family of 8 in a village called Osumi, and same story with my dad. He grew up in another village called Unubi. He was a family of 7, and I mean the main reason why most people from Nigeria in general move here is because of better opportunities, whether those be like economic or otherwise. My dad wanted to come here to finish up medical school and start up his business, and my mom came here to get her second degree. What I could do, like some of my potential would be like going to waste if I didn't like do something meaningful to like try to improve the lives of like my family or like other people that are in Nigeria that didn't have the chance that like my parents had. Because like a lot of times, especially if you grew up like my dad especially was like really poor when he grew up, so like coming to America was like his like only ticket out. And I think that like it shouldn't be necessary to like leave your home to have like an opportunity to like move up the economic ladder and like do something like really meaningful. So I don't know if I'm gonna have like the power to make that sort of change, but I want to like try at least.
Is it ever a problem for you that people don't often see the different cultures within being African American or being from Africa?
That's a good one actually. And like yeah, that's like a bone to pick for me, okay? Because like it was a lot worse when I was like much younger, because like people had like all sorts of like dumb misconceptions, right? Like, oh, people in Africa like live in like huts all the time, you know, when there's like, you know, cities in Africa, right? Or like people just like straight up like didn't know like geography, and they would like confuse me from being from like Kenya, which is on like the opposite side of the continent. Or like one of the really like common ones, it's not like too bad, but it's just kind of like ignorance. People like ask me to like speak Nigerian, and there's something like 150-ish different languages in Nigeria, so it's like you can't really like ask that question. It's a general like lack of information in the public that I think like creates sort of like the bad like questions and also some like the misconceptions too.
So the most recent statistic shows that UT has a 4% African American student population. How does that make you feel?
I guess like the main thing is just like a little bit, I guess lonely in a weird sort of sense, because I have like, you know, I have a decent number of friends, but I guess it's just a bit different, I guess, whenever you meet like another person of color on campus. I've actually made a lot of friends who come from like either like Nigeria or like are Igbo or just black, but the thing is that I had to like actively seek them out as opposed to like, you know, finding someone else in my class that happened to be of color as well. I had to go out and find like clubs and organizations to, you know, find people like me. The main club that I'm in right now is ASO, which is African Students Organization. And it's one of like the biggest clubs, especially with like people of African ancestry, and it's a lot of fun, and it's been super valuable for me this semester.
Do you feel more accepted here than at home?
I would say so actually. I would say so, and it's not necessarily like a race thing. I think because I mean at UT everyone's generally pretty tolerant and accepting of other people. But like the thing is that like especially I think most African countries, but like Nigeria's like kind of like it sticks out in the aspect where like there's a big like cultural expectation to like follow like a certain norm, right? So like when I was a kid, there was an expectation that I would go to medical school like my dad and be a doctor, and I like didn't really want to be a doctor like after like a certain age, and there's this like weird pressure where like my parents wanted me to go to college to study medicine, and I wanted to do something in like electrical engineering. And it was, you know, there was definitely like some conflict there. There's a lot of like conflict in sorts of like, I guess like behaviors and like the way you act, the way you dress. When I'm at UT, I can kind of just like do like basically whatever I want, and there's no like fear of, you know, what will people think of me, or like will I not like fit into like my culture or whatever, because like no one really like cares that much about how much I fit into the culture that I'm supposed to belong to. I guess one thing that you kind of like notice at UT is that like since there's such like a small percentage of like people of color on campus, whenever you see like another black person on campus, there's like an unspoken connection. You know, like you like make eye contact and be like, hey, like I see you, and like, you know, we don't know each other, but like we're tight at the same time, right? For the most part, people like tend to be like pretty respectful of like boundaries. They don't like ask like really like stupid questions, right? I guess one thing that always comes up is like whenever I bring up the fact I'm like Igbo, and like people ask if I like speak it, and I'm like yeah, and then like ask if I can like teach them something, and it's like it's kind of like a weird spot because like I feel obliged to, even though like I probably shouldn't, and it's something that like I'll only really like say it around like my family anyways, right? And if I'm gonna like say it to someone else, they probably have to be like a close friend of mine. So whenever someone asks me that like I don't really know that well, it just feels like I'm in like an awkward spot where I like feel obliged to, but I don't really want to at the same time either.
Would you say it makes you feel uncomfortable when other people treat your culture as kind of like just like a fun thing? They're like, oh, teach me a word. Like
yeah, I think that's where it kind of stems from, because like it's a big it's a big deal, but at the same time it's like not a big deal, because like my language is like it's like literally just like English to me, right? And then like it just feels kind of weird to me because whenever people ask me this sort of question, it's like it's almost like a weird way of saying like, oh, like entertain me with something that I don't know. And it's not like a source of like entertainment, like, oh, he knows his cool language that I don't know. It's like literally just like a part of me. It's like what I grew up with. So
do you think that UT does a good job of showing that there's different cultures on campus, and that we should be respectful of those different cultures?
Yeah, I would say so. Like I definitely feel better being here versus somewhere like A&M. Right. Like
do you wish that UT took more steps to increase African American acceptance and or admittance?
It's a hairy question, and part of me wants to say yes and part of me wants to say no. So I've talked like with like a couple other people that I know like about this particular issue, like in ASO, and the thing is that like right now, at least like from my perspective and from like their perspective too, there's like a lot of backlash against things like affirmative action, and there's also like definitely like a sort of like hidden, not like obvious, it's people don't really say it out loud, but there's like it's sort of like hidden stereotype that like, oh, a black person got into this academic college and it must be because of like affirmative action or to like fill a quota or whatever else. And it kind of like, it almost makes the problem worse, I think, if like we take action specifically to increase diversity, right? Because then it kind of like undermines the idea that black people are here of their own accord, that we're capable of doing this on our own. But at the same time, I do like recognize the need for diversity, and like I recognize that like, you know, it's a bit lonely like being like the only like black person in a classroom. So I'm really not sure how to answer that question, but like there's just a lot of factors that play into it, and I think it's like really hard to have a definite yes and like a definite no. It's just somewhere, I guess, in the middle in this like uncertain gray area.